Hey guys, I got another speech for you today. This one's titled Subversion in Reverse When Christianity Betrays Its Own Revolution. It's a reflective speech based on chapter 3 of Jacques Ellul's The Subversion of Christianity. Good evening, friends. Today, I want to explore a tension, one that runs deep in the heart of Western history, and deeper still in the soul of the church. It is a tension Jacques Ellul names with piercing clarity in chapter 3 of The Subversion of Christianity, that Christianity, which began as a subversion of the world, became in time a subversion of itself. The question we must ask is not merely whether Christianity has failed or whether Christians have sinned. Those are surface questions. The deeper question, the more unsettling question, is this: has Christianity become the very thing it once opposed? Let's begin with what Christianity was in the beginning. Ellul reminds us that Christianity did not enter history as a system or a power or a morality. It entered as a scandal, a crucified Messiah, a kingdom not of this world, a call to love enemies and bless persecutors. In its origin, Christianity was a subversion of the dominant order, religiously, politically, socially. It rejected hierarchy, wealth, and coercion. Its God was born in a manger, walked among the poor, and died condemned by the state and the temple alike. The first Christians lived this subversion. They refused to kill. They broke down walls between races and classes. They formed communities that challenged empires, patriarchy, and violence. They were, in Ellul's words, at the margins of society, a contradiction to the logic of domination. But that is not what most people think of today when they hear the word Christian. Here is where Ellul's insight cuts like a knife. Over time, the Christian movement became what he calls a subversion in reverse. That is, the very force that was meant to challenge the world's structures began to serve and sanctify them. The church became powerful, respectable, comfortable. It aligned with empire, with military conquest, with wealth and social order. It traded its prophetic witness for cultural influence. What had been a dangerous movement of grace and freedom was now a guardian of moralism and control. And yet, and this is important, it did so not out of obvious betrayal, but often in the name of good intentions. This is one of Ellul's major themes in chapter 3. The reversal of the gospel doesn't always look evil. It can come under the name of virtue, defending the truth, protecting morality, building civilization. But the question remains, is this still the gospel of Jesus, or has it been inverted into something else? Ellul gives examples of how Christian subversion became reversed. One is freedom from freedom to law. The New Testament proclaims freedom in Christ, a break from religious legalism. But in history, the church replaced that freedom with systems of rules, controls, and moral enforcement. The subversion grace of the gospel became a structure of law and fear. 2, from weakness to power. Jesus came in weakness as a servant, but the church often sought dominance, military, political, cultural. It embraced hierarchy and coercion, which Jesus rejected. From service to rule. The church began as a servant community, but gradually it sought to govern society. It set laws to command kings, to shape empires. It sought to rule in Christ's name, even though Christ refused rule when it was offered to him by Satan in the desert. From love to judgment. The gospel centered on radical love even for enemies. But Christian institutions often led with judgment, exclusion, and even violence. What Ellul shows us is not merely a history of sin, but a systematic inversion of the message. It is not that Christians failed to live up to their ideals. It is that the ideals themselves were rewritten to reflect the priorities of the world. Why this subversion matters. This reversal matters not only for theological reasons, but for moral and historical ones. Because of this subversion, Christianity has often lost its voice, its prophetic integrity. When it blesses the same power structures Jesus critiqued, it becomes indistinguishable from them. When it speaks with the voice of empire, it can no longer speak with the voice of Christ. Ellul's not writing to attack Christianity from outside. He writes as one who believes deeply in the gospel. But he insists that if we do not face this contradiction, we cannot recover the truth that still lives within the faith. He writes not to condemn, but to call us back to a gospel that subverts the world's falsehoods, not one that props them up. So what do we do with this? First, we learn to discern. Ellul invites us to question every use of Christian language that serves power rather than grace. Every structure that claims Christ, but acts in opposition to his spirit. Every movement that uses religion to dominate, divide, or control. Second, we must recover the subversive gospel, a gospel that confronts the afflicted and afflicts the comfortable, a gospel that centers on the cross, not the sword, on mercy, not might. Ellul insists that the true gospel still speaks. It may be buried beneath centuries of reversal. It may be obscured by the weight of institutions, but it remains, and it calls to those who are willing to hear it again. not in the halls of power, but among the poor, the marginalized, the faithful few. Hello. To follow Christ, Elul reminds us, is to live in contradiction with the world. It is to bear witness, not to cultural Christianity, but to a crucified God. This is not easy. It may even feel dangerous, but it is the only path to truth. So I leave you with this question. Will we follow the subverted Christianity of history or the subversive Christ who still speaks today? The choice is ours. Let us choose wisely. Thank you.